Hey, welcome everybody. We are here again for another episode of Trash Talk. It's
Yes.
absolutely our favorite show on on
Mm.
on social media by
Hmm.
far, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, we're not prejudiced or nothing, but
No, 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 not at all.
but
Not by. No.
and that kind of is the subject of what we started talking about today, is that there is so much social media out there, and what do you wrap your hands around, and what do you try to avoid, and how do you avoid it, how do you block it, how do you save it, how do you follow, what do you need to know? I mean, you are much more of an expert at that than I am, but I just know that there are sites. We started talking a little about TikTok. There are
Yeah, I
a
love
lot of
TikTok.
really good stuff there on TikTok, but
Great.
sometimes you got to go past a lot of garbage in order to get to the good stuff.
TikTok changes their algorithm on a regular basis. I don't think
Ah,
people understand that. They really do. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me, and I can tell they've changed it. Sometimes they change it right when they're getting ready to roll out a giant update. Um, and it's confusing sometimes. And if you don't follow it out, you don't do your research on it. I've got this girl from New York, and I love her to death. And now I can't remember what her handle is on TikTok. I don't want to say her real name, but she's phenomenal. She's like a beautiful mind when it comes to algorithms. And so I follow her, and then we started connecting. So I talked to her off of social media, and she has really broken down some cool stuff about TikTok for me, figuring out their algorithms. Because here's the thing: if you're on there like a simple scrolling person, every time you stop on a video, TikTok knows that. And it's like, oh, they watched this minute and a half video for the full minute and a half, or they watched this 10-minute video for the full 10 minutes or close. That must be something you're into. Now, you do that once, maybe it doesn't change, but you start to do that on a reg with a couple similar videos. Your For You page, that little FYP on top, it's going to start filling similar content. If you like that video, give it a little heart or comment on that video, you're feeding into that algorithm. So TikTok's like, oh, well, we need to shift content that's similar this way.
okay.
And the reality is, you might just like that particular person. You might not like that content all the time.
So what about you? You said okay that TikTok knows when you've watched the full posting, whether it's a
Sure.
minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. What about somebody that goes in and it's a 10-minute thing, but they watch 3 minutes of it?
It's still, I mean, I think they're still going to pick that up. I don't know how much that's going to affect the entire algorithm, to be honest with you, but I know that they're going to pick that up because, I mean, you didn't just scroll by it, you stopped. You
Right,
know,
right.
it's just like when you're on Facebook and you see an ad for something and you stop and you look at that ad, guess what? You got about 30 more of those different style ads coming your way, you know? Um, so it's going to know. And the best thing to do it is to really spend some time and kind of carve out what you're into. Right now for me on TikTok, my content, well, not right now, but a month ago, my content on TikTok was Halloween stuff, horror movies,
Right.
documentaries, stuff for family. That's what I was doing constantly. So people that are into that specific, not just movies, specific genre, I'm going to pop up a lot more into their feed and into their stuff because they are already looking for that. And it's going to draw them into me. So now I'm going to become, more trending on their For You page.
Yeah.
If you
Well, I
didn't
mean,
like it, if you're like,
even
I don't want to watch it, you can push a little button, it's touch the screen, brings up a little bar, and it gives you the option to say not interested. You do
and
that
and
enough.
I didn't even know that. You told me about that because, for instance, I've after you've seen so many of these animal rescue uh things that pop up on TikTok, or how many turtles can they pull out of the ocean that have gotten wrapped up in nets and everything, and they showed. I've seen them. They're interesting and all, but they keep popping up, and I'm kind of getting tired of seeing them. So I didn't know that you could actually put a pause on it and then select, I don't want to really follow these anymore.
Yeah. And you still have an opportunity to go back and see a cool video or something like that, but I've noticed it's happened with me too. I mean, and that's what I like about TikTok right on top. And I know we're talking a lot about TikTok, but it's the best app out there currently, in my opinion. Um, you've got the For You page. So this is going to be like TikTok's suggestions on what they think you should watch. Some of those might be people you already follow. Some of those might not be, but they're there. Then it's got the friends, the people that you are, you're friends with. And
Right.
then it's got followers. Followers is everything. You're following, they're following you. This is everything. So you can select, or you can just do the generic scroll. It always starts off on the For You page. My For You page is hit or miss. Sometimes it's filled with the same topic of video because I happen to be, the last time I was on TikTok, really focused on this content. So you got to change it. But I think for somebody like you who's still relatively new to TikTok, you've got to carve out what you're looking for.
Well, yeah, because it's growing and growing and growing by leaps and bounds. And also in the beginning where it was, a million followers or something, now you got 5 million followers. And because of that, more people are putting more content out there, and it's a little harder. So I understand that trying to focus on what you want. For instance, if when I go in, I notice that this person is following me.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you feel confident enough that you just say, okay, well, if they care enough to follow me, I'll follow them back? Or do you have to still kind of scrutinize a little bit about who they are and whether you want to follow them back?
I'll be honest with you. I don't follow everyone back that follows me for a couple reasons. It's not because I don't appreciate the fact that they're following me. Sometimes they're just spam BS accounts, and you can tell. And if I find them out, then I unfollow them from me, which
Yeah.
you can't remove them. Other times there are people that just want to be on TikTok to be there to follow content, not create content. So I don't need to follow somebody back that never posts anything, that never does a video. Sure, they might comment on my stuff and interact with me, and that's awesome, and I love that. I
Right.
love going forth, but I don't need to follow that account. I like to keep my ratio of followers. Like, let's say you have 2,000 followers, then I would like to follow about 1,000 people. Maybe half of that. If you have 3,000, then maybe bump it up to 1,500. I
Yeah.
like a good ratio. But there are people that I know that I like, that I maybe know in person, that have followed me and they don't post much. I'll follow them back. But I've got a
Well,
lot of people I don't follow back that, I don't feel bad about it.
well, and sometimes it'll say this person is following you, and it'll say, recommended by or also followed by Brandon Navarra. So
And you'll see that a lot, but that could be maybe particular content that I'm into. Maybe you don't find this particular guy funny, or you don't like this podcast, but because you and I, it's no different than Instagram and Facebook, but
right.
because it's you and I are buddies, then they're going to suggest that person to you. But sometimes it works out for everybody's benefit. I mean, I have found people through other mutuals that I'm like, oh, I really like this content, I'm gonna follow it.
Right. And you mentioned Instagram and Facebook, and all. Facebook, of course, has gotten just so huge, and all that. It's always nice to see that you're being followed by a few thousand people and all, but it's a matter of how many of those have followed you once and how many of you follow you every week.
Yeah.
Instagram, I find, is a little bit on the same plane as TikTok. It's maybe a little more mature. The followers, just like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a little bit more skewed to business connections and everything, but still serves that purpose. But if you're followed, that's a good thing. But you got to do a little bit of homework as far as to who is following and how. And sometimes those people that say they're following you, they're 12 years old, and you don't know whether they're following you just to build up their own numbers or whether they are really interested in you.
There's a lot of those. And in the beginning, I think a lot of people would do these. Hey, follow me, I'll follow you back. A
Right.
lot of podcasters I knew did that to me. They would hit me up, even on Twitter and stuff, X or whatever you want to call it. They'd hit me up, hey, I'll follow for a follow. And I'm like, if I know you or if I had some sort of content with you or I've had some connection with you and I know what you're about, that might be okay. But
Yeah.
I don't do that because I might not want your type of content connected with me.
And also, it puts the onus on you to have to find the time to go in and follow them a little bit to see what they're doing, to see if you want to follow them.
I
Because
we had a guy we had a
all that
guy
takes time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We had a guy on Instagram, and I don't even know if you saw these messages. Usually I try to handle that stuff. But for a long time, he was commenting, he was sharing our stuff. It was very cool. He kept on messaging us, talking about being on the show, being on the show. And I was like, all right, let me read in this. He's a big Marvel comic book fan. So I'm like, okay, this could be. But I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to get with, Stuart. We're going to figure it out. It was within a day he messaged back. He's like very aggressive about it, very like, come on, man. And he started dropping some F-bombs. And I'm like, I got a bad vibe. So I was like, nah. So I told him,
Right.
I said, man, maybe one day we'll work it out. I said, right now, though, we're just booked. Well, he immediately unfollowed us, doesn't interact anymore. Well, that's the type of situation that's somebody who's just trying to build up his own, and which is fine. We can use each
Right.
other. I'm that, but don't get aggressive with me. And so I just 86'd it. And we get that sometimes. But had I not researched it and gone in to see, is he even worth it? We might have just put this guy in the show and who knows what we would have got.
Right.
And that's not something I want to do.
Right. And also, it's like a pebble in the pond, too, that what sometimes these people are reaching out to some of their followers now come back to you to follow them, and you don't know who they are because you know this person, but you
Yeah.
don't know their extensions. And also, you got to be a little cautious as to who you're pulling into your circle.
It's really interesting because it's like you got to look at it as, do you want the numbers game? And like for me, like, yes, listen to my show, watch Trash Talk, follow my content, all you want. Interact, have a different opinion. I'm cool with that. Don't be hateful, don't be derogatory, and we're good. The minute you are, then I remove you. That's just the way it is. And I've had to do that on TikTok. And not a lot, though. I got to say, I have some really, I say this and then I'll go on today and there'll be some a-hole on there, but I've got some really awesome people that I have met. I've got a great guy in Canada out there in Quebec that is really into content. He's into content creating. We have completely different opinions on a lot of the movies, but yet at the same time, we also agree on a lot of this stuff too. It's really cool. And he has jumped in when I've gone live on TikTok. He's jumped in and stuff like that. I've got a guy from New York that now we talk to on a regular. And it's just been kind of cool to meet these people. Not only that, but learn from. My cat is freaking out right now. But learn from them. And I think that's been awesome.
Yeah. It's interesting. And every time there's a new platform that comes out, you're looking at how can I adapt to what I'm already doing to this new platform. And there have also been some platforms that have been out there for a while that seem to have just gone haywire. And
Or just falling off
yeah, and you just say, okay, I'm finished with that, and I'm going to transfer and shift my focus to the new platforms.
And I think that's happened a lot. I mean, I'm in this one very niche. This is very niche platform called Letterboxd, and it is geared towards movies. They have television and stuff on there too, yeah. But you literally go on there and you rate the movie. You tell them if you've seen it before, if this is your first time, you can create a watch list. You write your review, and that's it. And you got people following you, and you're learning about movies. And it is very much movies. And yeah, there's series, Netflix series, stuff like that. But that's been fun too, because a lot of the people that I follow on social media or follow me are on there. And there's a lot of stuff they do on there that they don't do on their other social media platforms.
So
So
it's a more focused platform.
yeah, absolutely. And I've been doing that for a little bit now. I was really hesitant at first because I didn't need to add something else to my life. But yeah, and I've been reviewing movies and talking about movies that I don't talk about on any other social. So there, you're at least adding something new and giving somebody a reason to follow you.
Well, it's an interesting discussion because, as I say, every so many months, there's all of a sudden a new platform that's popping up, or there are new rules and regulations that fall into some of the existing platforms,
Like
and also
Facebook.
you got to follow it and decide. Now, for you, I mean, you are probably on about 20 different platforms. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not that savvy enough to go to all of those, but I try to cross over and interact with people that do follow us on these platforms. But I mean, it's the way of the world right now, and it's the best way to get your messages and content across, and we'll stick with it.
Yeah, and that's why when I decided to have our show, like we were talking, I was like, we're gonna go on TikTok. Number one, it's cool because you are reaching a different market and a different group of people, and so being able to put clips, unique shows, and do things. But now we're finding out a different way because I don't want to do the same thing. I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
trash to be the exact same on TikTok as it is on YouTube, Spotify, or Instagram. So now I'm trying to come up with other fun things to do, and it's growing. I see it. I mean, I just did a video advertising one of our shows, and it's like within like an hour, it was like 500 views, 600 views, and I'm like, all right,
And
let's go.
that's a good way to attract attention to some new followers, is to take a 15 or 20-minute show, but to take a 60-second clip and all. It's like a teaser, like a trailer for a movie. That somebody sees it and they say, hey, I kind of like these guys. And now they'll drop into the show and watch a full 15, 20-minute show, and then they become a regular follower. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and you can. It's really cool too because I've gone through and like, okay, I can pick some highlights from the clips. Sometimes I just put clips, but sometimes I'll go in there and I'll specifically be like, all right, I'm going to cut this clip and I'm going to cut it off right at a crucial moment so that they can, basic stuff, lure them in, and then they go listen to the show. But it's fun because I've also met other people that are coming out with shows. And so it's kind of like, all right, let's follow these guys and get that network going bigger.
Yep. Yep. Well, we thank you for dropping in to see what it's all about, and a discussion about social media and some of the things that it represents and all. And we're glad that you come every Tuesday morning to follow us, and I'll tell your friends about us and everything, and then come back and see us again next week, same time, same place.
Absolutely.
Bye.